what is the percentage of oxygen in air? Thank you very much, Abubakar. He says 21%. That's quite good. Again, what is the importance of air to life? That's good. From Mohammed Samura. He has just informed us that air is important to dry things. Today, we are looking at water as a life supporting element. Water as a life supporting element. For today's lesson, I decided to bring this particular water for all of you to see in class, because water, as we all know, is a colorless, tasteless, and of course a substance that we need in order for us to survive. Water, as you all know, has a composition of oxygen, hydrogen, and oxygen. Because of this reason, human beings and other living things need water in order for us to actually survive. A large amount of water is found in the ocean. Statistics has informed us that 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water, whilst 30%, where you and I, as well as other living things, live, takes a total of 30%. The water content in the world, 97% of it is salty, meaning it is found in the ocean. We have the Atlantic Ocean, we have the Indian Ocean, we have the Pacific Ocean, and the rest. All of these are found in the ocean. We are also informed that 3% of the water we use, including the water I brought to class, is just 3%. Fresh water. Now, most of the water we receive come from rain, from the lakes, from the rivers, and of course from the streams. Some of these go through some processes, not as rigorous as the one from the salt. For instance, we have the Guma Valley Water Company in Sierra Leone, and of course we have the Sierra Leone Water Company known as Salwako, producing water for the consumption of human beings. And all of us benefit from this particular water component. Because of this reason, we realize the fact that we use water in our homes, in our offices, in the market, and of course in towns and villages. Because without water, life cannot exist the way it should. On that note, we also have countries in the Mano River Union found along the west coast of Africa. We have countries like Senegal, We have countries like Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. We enjoy sufficient amount of water because we are found in the tropical rainforest region, meaning more water reaches us before it goes further into the interior. Unfortunately, for countries found in the desert regions, for instance, we have countries like Mauritania, Niger, Niger, and of course Saudi Arabia. These countries are known to be landlocked countries because they are not found along the coast of West Africa or along other oceans of the world. And on that note, these particular countries suffer a lot in order for them to process their water. They depend on water they receive from the oceans. When this water is actually collected from the ocean, what happens? The countries make use of certain processes in order to remove the salt, because salinity of the water affects us as human beings. So a process called desalination, that is removing salt from the ocean, is actually needed before it becomes useful to humans and for other domestic or industrial purposes. Like in these countries, after those processes have been done, they will now send these water to their homes, factories, and other needed areas so that it can be utilized. Because of this process, we realize the fact that too much of water is consumed by the world population. We have so much of it being used in different areas, and it leads us to what we consider to be uses of water. As a matter of fact, we are all glued to the fact that we need water every moment, every hour, and for the rest of the day, because we consume water and we make use of water in different circumstances in our lives. So first and foremost, we realize the fact that we need water in order for us to do our domestic work, for domestic purposes. What are some of these domestic purposes? First and foremost, for drinking purpose. For drinking purpose. We also need water for agricultural purpose. In Sierra Leone, we have so many rivers, so many lakes, and of course, we also have wells and springs. During the dries, you realize the fact that we do not have rain actually coming. So farmers make good use of water by having irrigation. So as to supply the plants that they have actually sown. Another very important use of water is the fact that we need it for transportation. We have three means of transportation. We have air, we have land, and we have water or through the sea. You would agree with me that some people travel through the air, others travel through land, but most often there are many other individuals who travel through water, and importantly, most goods come through water transportation. For instance, we have the cargo. When we see transport facilities like ships, ferries, canoes, etc., they move with individuals, people, and goods in order for them to actually carry them to their destination. So water plays a very important role in terms of transportation. Another very important use of water is the fact that it helps in terms of producing electricity. Most often, we see countries in Africa and in developed regions, they have mega power hydroelectric supply. This helps greatly in terms of providing electricity because we need water in order to fuel the turbines and other engines that are used in order to generate electricity. And water is very, very important because it is in a large scale and easy to actually access. Today, people grumble, people are concerned about the use of fuel for their generators, the use of petrol, diesel, and of course kerosene, which are mostly used. But with water, you can easily gain water from rivers, from lakes, and even from the ocean without you expending much. So water is important in terms of providing electricity. Another very important use of water is for urban use. When we talk about urban use, we're referring to water being used in the city. In towns and city centers, we make use of water in terms of cleaning, in terms of sanitation, and also many important aspects within our community so that we can have a clean environment and we can enjoy a good atmosphere. Again, water is important for industrial use, If we go, for instance, to the Sierra Leone bottling company, we realize the fact that we need water in order for us to make use of the mixture, and we apply it, we pour it into the bottles, and even for grafting factory. As you can see, I have the big size of grafting water, which is being produced in Sierra Leone. We call it the grafting spring water. When it is poured into the container, the stoppage is applied and it is supplied in dozens and in terms of cartons and bulk quantity. So water is actually important for industrial use. Again, you might want to ask questions, as some of you are actually observing now. I want to give you an opportunity to pose your questions. Feel free to ask your questions and you'll get appropriate answer. Okay, while some of us are thinking as to what we want to ask, we also want to bring you to an important aspect of water on planet Earth. Water renews itself through a process called the hydrological cycle. The composition of hydrogen and oxygen enables us to have water. And on that note, water starts through a process of evaporation. From this point of evaporation, okay, question? Okay. Okay, somebody is asking, that's Jermaine Bar, asking, say, how is water used to produce electricity? A very important question. Under the uses of water, one very important aspect is that water is used to produce electricity. First and foremost, realize the fact that we'll have a river, for instance, which flow, as in the case of Sierra Leone, from the northeast, it flows down to the southwest before it empties into the Atlantic Ocean. And no river is straight, all rivers circumvent. So you realize the fact that we will have a river that is moving, and a large collection of this water is collected at a particular point, like we have in the case of Bumbuna. It is dug properly so that huge amount of water is actually collected, and we have engines or machines being applied. The engines or machine, including turbine, goes around the water, and the continuous turning of this particular machine actually power out what we refer to as energy. And the energy is collected and sent to us through the cables and right down to ETSA, what we formerly call NP, National Power Authority. Today it is the electricity generation, that is ETSA. We have ETSA, we have Electricity Distribution Supply Authority. When they receive this particular energy, in turn, they distribute it through prepaid meters, what we call prepaid meters, meaning you have to buy your rechargeable top-up, and of course, you will get the energy that is in the form of current to your homes, to your offices, and to wherever you actually want, this particular energy. Thank you very much, Jamie, for that very important question. I'm sure you've learned, and because of that question, other pupils have actually benefited. So we continue now with the process of the hydrological cycle. It starts as a renewable process and a continuous process that never ends. The sun is actually needed in this particular process because without the sun, we cannot have evaporation. Evaporation is the heating of water, and you see water being generated, moving into the sky. So a large percentage of water is coming from the ocean, because that is where we have the huge quantity of water. We also have it on land, but most of the water we are talking about comes from the ocean, for which the sun penetrates and heats the water through a process called evaporation, and the water goes into the Earth's atmosphere. It condenses into water vapor. When it condenses into water vapor, remember in the Earth's atmosphere, we have wind that actually blows all around. The continuous blowing of the wind brings down the water that comes as rain. It comes again on our plants, the earth, and other places, including the ocean as well. And all of this water actually drains and goes back into the ocean. But let us realize the fact that the water we are talking about, other portion of it comes from heated substances in our factories, at home, where our parents are cooking. We take a case wherein our mothers, our sisters, and of course our wives are actually cooking. If you pour water into a pot and you place the water over the fire, you cover it, and you allow it to boil. What happens? When the water is boiling, just take the cover from it and you place it somewhere else and place your hand over the boiling pot. You realize the fact that some amount of water vapor will be seen in your palm. That is the process of evaporation, the practical process you too can apply. As you are at home, you will see that particular process. And remember the number of people cooking and the number of factories operating in order for us to have some of these things moving into the Earth's atmosphere. And on that note, the same process continues: evaporation, condensation, and forms as vapor, falls again as rain, and the cycle continues. So thank you very much. If you have questions, you would actually ask. Draw, but mind you, by exercising your hands, your fingers, you'll be in a better position to draw, because drawing is part of human beings, part of life. We'll respond to one more question before we bring this particular class to an end. While we are waiting for questions, we want you to actually find out about, as your assignment, find out about the amount of water being used. Find out and write the amount of water supplied by Sierra Leone Water Congo Sawako Sawako.